I am. I do digital marketing. So more specifically for a healthcare system in Houston. So yeah, I came out here today, to talk about some of the freelancing I've done and pretty much some things I learned while working there. Because when I freelanced before, and I'll get into it in the talk, but I freelanced before, and once I got into working with the actual larger corporation, I started hearing how they talk about freelancers behind the scenes, and I was like, oh, interesting. I didn't know you guys thought like that. I thought you just pick whoever's the best or whoever's the most talented or easy to work with, but it was a mixture of things. It was interesting.
Yeah,
so.
No, and that's what you're going to, this is the secret you're going to reveal to us today?
Yeah,
some of the. No, that'd be fantastic.
Part of that as well, yeah. I want to make sure you can see.
How to avoid being the negative part of the myth is super important for people.
I'd agree. Let me see. Do I need to like flip this around or something, or is it good? Or do I need to stand here? I want to make sure you can see.
Probably standing on the other side of it.
Okay.
Or I can move my body also.
Either way.
There's lots of choice. So if you
yeah, this is fine. No, this is fine.
What works best for your?
I think this is good.
Crew? Yeah. How do they make you look good? I will work.
You okay?
With you.
Yeah, they're fine. They're fine with it.
Do you need us up here at the table so that you can focus on there's a crowd?
No, I think you're comfortable.
Okay.
Whatever makes you comfortable, I think it's good. I have a feeling if some people are still on the way, they may trickle in. So, yeah, it's fine. I think this is good because also we have an hour scheduled, and I already told them downstairs. So they tried to wait on other people, but we're okay. We have an hour scheduled, so I'm going to go about 50 minutes, and then you can ask any questions with 15 minutes. And this is really good because you can get very specific because it's you all here. Obina, I just want to check with you. Obina's doing video. You can wave at him, say hi if you want. Can you hear me? Is everything okay with that? Okay, good. And then Daniel's snapping some shots. He's good. Okay, cool. Well, let us officially begin. All right, so Agency of One, you saw the title, you read the description. More specifically, there's some mysticism about what an Agency of One is, but we're going to dive into that today and talk about that and go into it. This is what we actually are going to cover. So the quick agenda today is positioning, which I believe is made up of two main things, pricing and perception, then what companies expect, also how to partner with agencies, and then the last thing, how to become an agency yourself. So that's where the whole title Agency of One came from. And I did just send this out on social media because I know there's some people delayed, but also if you're interested in getting the slides that I have for this, I think there's like 90 slides. A lot of them are for visual points and things of that nature. However, if you're interested in getting the slides and seeing the video and us capture it and get the audio or what have you, if you go to this link, I'll make sure anybody who submits their email there gets that sent to them. Does that work? That's good?
Yeah, just leave it there so I can write it down.
Okay. And I'll ask you some questions throughout the time too, so feel free to speak. This is not just me talking and you listening. I definitely want to hear from you as well. Very good question. A very good question because it leads into the next slide. I'm Nathan Allotey. Allotey, yeah. Allotey, Nathan Allotey, freelance web designer. So just a little bit about me. This is who I am. I'll just give some quick background because it feeds into the story I'm about to tell. So I went to Baylor University in Waco, Texas. I went there, I did applied mathematics and electrical engineering. So while being there, I graduated. And the great thing is, or however you want to look at it, I graduated during a recession.
Woo!
So during that, I was still looking for jobs and different things of that nature. And somebody told me, I know you're very good with computers and things of that nature. You want to look at maybe these companies. They're looking for technical people who can manage servers. And they recommended HostGator in Houston. HostGator, the web hosting company. Started working there. A lot of smart people at that company. Learned a lot while being there. But the main thing I kept hearing was, help me build a website. Help me build a website and different things like that. So the popularity of websites just continued to grow and explode. So that allowed me to see, okay, I need to look into building websites or at least looking at it because it's so popular. So self-taught web design, learned all that. Pretty much I'd go to work. After work, I was teaching myself how to do it, reading tutorials online. and I started freelancing. Started my own business, freelancing in Focus Media. And one of my clients was Envato. Does anyone know who Envato is?
You know the name, but I don't.
Yeah, they are. Daniel raised his hand in the back. Yeah. So Envato is a very large company. They connect with freelancers and creatives, but more specifically, they specialize in creating small creative assets for that. So Envato is behind Theme Forest, Photo Junkie, different things like that. They offer services to creatives. So it's similar to, has anyone heard of Creative Market? Mm-hmm. So it's similar to that, but a lot larger. It's just that they're based in Australia. So I started working with them and helped them on a redesign that they had, and they gave me access to tutorials. I was like, oh, great. They said, hey, we have this huge website full of tutorials. Since you helped us, you have access. I was like, oh, cool. And I started reading through that, and I was like, oh, I learned things the wrong way. Even though I was self-taught, I didn't really learn things the right way. So I started picking up new skills like how to edit videos, how to edit audio, more graphic design, things that just would help out and enhance my web design skills. But I didn't know what I didn't know, at least about business. I had the creative side and the technical side down, but not the business side down. So this led me to go to University of Houston to get my MBA. And I did that again while working and going at night. But everything I was learning there, I felt like it would be a waste if I didn't share it. So on my site, nathanallotey.com, I pretty much share everything I learned about business and freelancing on there. And I have a podcast where I talk about that on a weekly basis on freelance tips and how to do those things. Just a little bit of who I am. But because I was self-taught, I believe I undervalued myself a little bit. You may be able to relate, but when I first started freelancing, I would just say yes to anything. Yes, more work is good. Of course, I need more funds. Why not? So I just would say yes to everything. And that created a weird type of client base. And what I mean by that is the client base that was a little lower. Now, on here, I've just created a chart. On the y-axis is price, and on the x-axis is people's willingness to pay. And the type of clients I was getting, because I felt I was a self-taught designer, I just take whatever comes my way, were the people that were like, give me a hookup. I know you're very good, but come on. You're self-taught, I'm helping you out. Those are the type of people that were, coming to me. Also, people who wanted a deal or a discount. In other words, they see what I have to offer and they see it's valuable, but they don't want to pay full price. Give me a deal. Come on, I'll refer to you other work. And of course, they refer to me other work, but it was of the same type. So I used to wonder, okay, how am I going to get up here to like luxury premium clients, people like Apple or Tesla, people who don't try to negotiate. If I quote a price, they say, oh, great. And they just don't think about it. How can I get higher up there? And I started thinking about this question more and more. How can freelancers work with high value clients? And I started doing a lot to look into this question. I started talking to tons of other freelance creatives, calling other people, asking questions, finding out who worked for what company, and just speaking with them and say, how did that happen? Some people gave me information that was good. Some people said, I don't know. It just happened. And I was like, that's not helpful. So I really still wrestle with answering this question. But to really distill it down, there's two simple things in how to get closer to working with high value clients. That is your perception or positioning. And the second thing is confidence, your skills, right? Those are the two things that when you distill everything down, this is how you can really position yourself and move towards working with higher value clients. And we'll get into that. Confidence is a little easy. Chris Do, the founder of Blind Creative and The Future, which is an online design learning academy, but he defines confidence. He says confidence is a skill that can be cultivated over time. So he feels if you do things repetitively over and over, you get more confident. That's fairly simple. So if you're feeling any type of lack of confidence, repetition will help you. But perception is a little more tricky. Perception is a little more involved, and to even break perception down, I would say it's two things. One thing is price, or what you're charging, pricing. Price is similar to insurance. The higher the cost, the more confident clients are in the fact that you can minimize risk. and the other is perception. Perception will determine the level of confidence clients have that you can deliver what you promise. So whatever you're portraying or whatever they see you as, they feel like you can get the job done. So those are the two things when talking about positioning that make up positioning, and we're going to explain that a little more. But first we got to deal with price. So the one question that I absolutely hated in the past was, how much does a website cost? And just to ask, what type of freelancers do we have or creators do we have in the room? Like I said, I do web design, but what type of things do you all do?
I'm a ghostwriter.
Ghostwriter, okay, great. And what type of work do you do?
Project manager and business strategy.
That's good. We need more project managers, definitely. Project management. And has anyone ever asked you all, like, how much do you charge, right? And I've been asked that same question. And the reason I didn't like it is, how much does a website cost? How much does a house cost?
Yeah, it depends. What do you want?
Exactly. It depends. What do you want? How do you want it to look? How in depth are we going? How long is the project? There's just a lot of variables. But people would always ask this question, how much does it cost? And I don't like the question, and I feel it is the wrong question to ask or answer because it focuses on being an expense rather than being an investment, right? How much does it cost? Cost always tends to have a connotation that I'm not going to get anything back. I have to give up something and then that's it. But it really should be an investment. And I used to not like this question because I felt like I had to decide on a price. People would tell me, what do you charge? And I had to think, what should I charge? But I had a renewing of my mind to think that pricing is not a decision, pricing is a strategy. I know a very popular photographer who's in Silicon Valley. She's like the most wanted photographer in Silicon Valley. Normally she does very large projects for different companies, whether it be different companies like Nike or Fitbit and different things of that nature. She works with them. And those are normally larger jobs. But recently she said, I'm having a photo shoot today. I have 20 slots open, $200. So she's priced both ways. It just depends on what the strategy is. The $200 session strategy is I'm going for volume. If you're working one-on-one with a client, you're going for value, so you want to charge a little more. So pricing is not a decision, it's a strategy, and it just depends on what the strategy you want to choose. So when I had this shift of focus and this shift of mindset, it made me ask the question, how much are my websites worth? Not how much do they cost, how much are they worth? So, yeah, you can relate. You know what I'm talking about. All right, good.
I'm writing a piece that's going to market for you for like a year and make everyone know who you are. So, yeah, it's not $20.
There you go. There you go. Great example. So, even with that, how much are my websites worth? And I think that's a great question to ask. How much is my project management worth? How much is my copywriting or writing worth? And just see what you can find. But one thing that I did was I looked at this question and I felt it was the right question to ask or the right question to answer because it focuses on the value you provide to your client, right? So that's a good thing. It's focusing on value, not price. And value tends to be made up of whatever it is that you produce, there's going to be some type of return on that for the business. So that's what value focuses on. And the one thing I did to really figure this question out, how much are my websites worth, is I picked up the phone. I picked up the phone and I called other creative professionals and I would ask them a question. And this is what I did. So this is in the past. I don't charge this now, but this is in the past. So I did a website one time and I charged $1,000 for it. I felt it was very easy. It wasn't a big deal. I think it was like a page for a conference. And once they click through, they get taken to, the ticket buying process. So I didn't think it was a big deal. It's just a one pager, whatever. So it was $1,000. But I was curious, how much are my websites worth? So I called a web studio out in California and I asked them, how much would you charge for a website like this? Now I didn't tell them it was mine. I just said, how much would you charge for something like this? You want to guess what they said? Any guesses? 10,000? That's a very good guess. Any guesses?
No guesses.
Okay, now,
Guess.
no, good. So the web studio in California said we will start at 5,000. So they're like the absolute lowest is 5, and based on what you want, we'll go from there. I was like,
Were you acting as a customer or a fellow creative?
The one in California, I told them I was a fellow creative, and then I showed them.
Oh, that's
And
really sweet.
that's the
Okay.
case.
Well, I was always curious.
And the reason why I called someone in California, though I was in Houston, Texas, is because they didn't necessarily see me as competition or a threat. Because they viewed me as being like far away, another market, so they didn't mind telling me because I'm way over there. Even though it's the internet, I could easily be your competition, but what have you. So then I also called an agency. The agency was in the Dallas area. This one I did act like a customer. And I asked them, how much would you charge for a website like this? And it was the website I designed. I didn't give them any more from that. They said, well, it's going to be around this price, but you're going to need web hosting, and you're also going to need monthly maintenance and different things of that nature. So when it's all said and done, by the end of the year, it's going to be $10,000. I was like, wow, okay, thank you. So this really shocked me, and I had a shift in mentality again, because in the past, I thought I made an extra $1,000 because I had a day job and I was freelancing, on the side. So I thought I made an extra $1,000 when really I missed out on $9,000. And what was happening to me was, again, I was asking the question, how can I work with higher clients? Why am I getting these clients that seem to treat me on the lower end of the spectrum that we defined earlier? And it's because, again, they weren't taking me seriously. And what I mean by that is when you price too low, you run the risk of people not taking you seriously. This is a quote from Lauren Hooker, who's also a web designer and a brand strategist. She continually raised her prices about every 2 months, just kept doing it. And it was fine. She just still had clients. Nothing happened. She just kept raising her prices. But she did notice as well, when the price is too low, people feel like maybe you can't handle the job because the agency was $10,000. Surely you can't produce the same quality as an agency if you're only $1,000 and they're $10,000. That's what was happening to me, and I didn't realize it. And this is a question. So this is a picture of a brand new MacBook Pro made by Apple. Again, it's space gray. It has the touch bar. It's brand new. Has aluminum on the sides as well, and has this HD screen also. Very sleek, very powerful. 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's very fast. 1 terabyte hard drive. So if I had all these things, and I was willing to sell this to you and say, this is a brand new MacBook Pro, I'll give it to you for $5. Who in here would purchase this for $5? Brand new MacBook Pro, has all the best specs and everything. You can feel free to raise your hand.
Well, is it online, like from some shady looking character, or is
why did you say,
touch it and test it?
Why did you say shady looking character?
Because that price is bizarre.
That price is bizarre, yes.
That's a Nigerian prince price.
We know Apple, we know the product, we know the value, the quality, the reputation, all that. When we're talking about some agency that designs websites and they've got their portfolio online, you call bullshit on that to a certain point.
Mm-hmm. Again.
Maybe you did, maybe you didn't.
Yeah, no, that's good.
They did.
Yeah.
So $5 on that is an absolute no.
Yeah, so.
Stolen or it doesn't work.
Exactly. So, and I would think the same thing. Yeah, would it blow up? That's a great one as well.
This guy is like the junkie living in the alley.
And the thing is, I'm glad you all said that because it shows
I
that
haven't bought boosted stuff before, but.
nobody heard what she just said. Ignore that. Nobody has ever. We always buy things on the up and up here.
Yep.
So nothing else. But again, yes, because the price is $5, we're all hesitating to say, what's wrong with it? Does it work? Is there something wrong? Am I buying a picture of a MacBook Pro or am I buying the actual physical thing? Nobody wants to take action on it because we know the supposed value doesn't match up with the price. And everything that I said, that's what, in a sense, was happening to me. I know it wasn't a laptop, it was websites that I was offering. Even though I had a nice portfolio and everything, they looked at it like, something's up. And I still was wrestling with, the give me a hookup or give me a deal people. But, I also, changed some things. But I started getting opportunistic people that I would say they want to buy, but I have to do all this convincing to try to get them to make a purchase. So I still wasn't up here in the luxury premium brands. How could I get up there? How can I work with them? I still wrestled with that. So for some people in the room, if you do want to work with more high value brands, it may be a price thing. You may need to evaluate your price or do something similar to the exercise I did. Call other people and just ask, what are you charging? Am I charging anything in the right area? How does it look? Or where do I fall in the market? Maybe you are charging something that's reasonable, but you are in the middle of the road, not necessarily elite, right? So for some of us, I know for me, it was a pricing issue, and that's something I've had to work through and get to, over some time. But for others, it might be a perception issue. And for that, it's a lot dealing with changing people's perception, but there's there's a few things we can do to make that process a little easier. So feel free to raise your hand. Who in here is a freelancer? I'd say I'm a freelancer. Yeah, so mostly everybody in the room says they're a freelancer. Great, except for we should probably never, ever use that term outside of this room when talking to clients. But that's fine that we're all freelancers and we know that for internal conversations, but for clients, we shouldn't use that word. Brendan Dunn, he also spoke at Freelance Conference some years ago, and he's one of the people I talked to when I was trying to figure out how to work with higher value clients, things of that nature. Brendan said, eliminate freelancer from your vocabulary. A freelancer is a solver of problems. So Brendan believes if you are going to work as a freelancer, you need to choose something or choose an appropriate title that's closer to the problems that you solve.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure, like, the way that is set up, it looks like being a solver of problems is a negative thing, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Now,
Yeah, it's a good thing. He's just trying to point out that freelancers,
yeah, solver of problems.
You're a solver of problems, and that name may come out in a different way. So it doesn't have to be, I'm a freelance videographer. It's, I'm a cinematographer who focuses on wedding films, or I am a cinematographer that focuses on motion pictures. Okay, I'll call you when I'm directing, I need a director or something for a movie, rather than I'll call you to film a baby shower. It's two different things, but it depends. We have a little bit of control of setting that perception by choosing a more appropriate name. So I introduced yes. No, feel free.
Independent contractor, is that a more preferable term, or is that a don't use it either?
No, even if you are an independent contractor, that tends to describe more of your legal and or tax status rather than what it is that you do. So when it comes to like a name, something more closely related to who you are, what you can do, and the value that you offer, that would be more appropriate. You can say, yes, I am a digital marketing strategist, but you can hire me as an independent contractor, right? It kind of frames things a little better. So earlier I introduced myself as a freelance web designer. I did that on purpose. Really, no, I'm not a freelance web designer. I am a digital marketing strategist. And that is what I started pretty much changing everything, making sure that people knew I was a digital marketing strategist and explaining what that meant. I started doing that more often. That was one thing I did to try to change people's perception. The other thing is Google. Google is the world's largest search engine. But here's the thing about Google. Google is only good as the results that are served up. So Google has rewritten their algorithm. They're very smart with it. It's changed over time. However, Google is limited to whatever websites it's crawling. But I wasn't really giving Google the right information to frame digital marketing strategists. A lot of content, things that I had up still showed, oh, Nathan, he's a freelance web guy. That was still the story. So, I don't know if anyone in the room has ever done this, but when you search your name or your business name on Google, do you know what comes up in the search results? Does anybody know, or is anybody satisfied with what they see in the search results?
Yeah, my LinkedIn always comes up first.
Good.
Which, yeah, I'm fine with that. But there's another woman with my exact name and same spelling, and she's a journalism teacher. And I used to be a literature teacher, so I'm like,
Okay.
Mine is a vet professor in Tennessee.
Vet professor.
Published work.
yeah.
Okay.
She ended up killing me.
Yeah.
Okay. I know when I would search my name on Google, what came up was my personal Facebook profile, a few social media networks, and then a lot of other things that were kind of old I put online I did not want associated with what I was doing now. So I tried to overcome this, and one way I did it, I started looking at how Google works and different things of that nature, and I also noticed Google is the #1 search engine, but also YouTube was the second largest search engine. So I was like, wow, I don't have anything on YouTube. And YouTube feeds directly into Google. So what am I doing?
Yeah, Google owns YouTube, right?
Correct. Google does own YouTube, and they pair off one another. Google also just released a new update, and on that update specifically, now when you search for certain things, videos pop up in a carousel manner. Mm-hmm. So even now on Google, they're serving up videos, and you can just scroll through them and look for what you want. So they pair together nicely, and I started making videos. I started making more videos, just explaining what I know, whether things that I learned in school, things that I learned over time, things that I learned from making mistakes, it didn't matter. I just started making more content. And the reason I was doing that is I wanted to make videos to show my level of expertise, not necessarily because I'm teaching or explaining something that no one has ever done before. I'm doing it just to show my personal expertise of what I knew. So again, if you're going to start to change people's perception, video is a good way, because you're not making videos to go viral. You're making videos to show that you are an expert in your specific area. So it's something to think about, and it's not going anywhere. It's only getting more popular. But
yeah. A lot of more people watched. I put one video on LinkedIn, and it's just text flying by, and my logo ends at the end, and then in between there's just social proof slides of stats.
Oh, okay.
And people are watching it like way more than they read, you know, and it's just like,
yeah.
But it's all, and my video is about written content.
Yeah, video's taking over because.
Yeah, and keep it quiet so they can watch it in the office.
Yeah, that too. So people use YouTube all the time, watch videos. It's just a more engaging medium. And I just started making more content on YouTube. So like literally over the span of 2.5 years, I was just making content on everything that I knew and putting it on YouTube. And then a client came up to me one day. I worked with a client in the past. Remember I said, clients were like, hey, Nathan, give me a hookup. That was the type of clients I had in the past. And then a client came back to me and said this. They said, wow, now that you're big time, I really appreciate you taking the time to work with me on this project. So in other words, they came to me, asked me for my help, and they viewed me as big time. I didn't talk to this person. I didn't really have to convince them. I just started putting out more content, showing what my knowledge was. And I guess he saw it. I didn't send it to him. He saw it on his own. He said, Nathan's big time now. Big time. It's not that I was big time now. It's just literally I was finally showing him all that I knew that he couldn't really see in our one-on-one interactions or our email interactions.
Yeah, I've got a question about your production, right? Because you're clearly getting some high production right now. But your initial YouTube ones, was it just like you in front of your computer, or did you?
Yeah, it's me and the camera. I bought a camera. It's me sitting in front of the camera.
You bought a good camera, not just the iPhone.
Yeah, I bought, what did I buy? The first thing I bought was a Canon T3i, and then later on I upgraded to a Canon 80D, because it was better for video. And to be honest, the way things, because it's been some years since then, sometimes phones will get it done. I know the phone that I have, it's a Samsung Galaxy, it shoots 4K. So it's like, double, if not sometimes triple or quadruple HD TV at 1080. So to be honest, you could use your phone. It doesn't have to be some fancy camera. But if you wanted to use a camera, that could work too, because I know certain places you can rent a camera for an entire week, $50.
I got a field mic because I'm podcasting, and my mom, I want to interview her before she's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can rent the ones to find you like at Rock and Roll Rentals here.
Yeah, you can rent them.
They're cheap.
So you don't have to buy it. $20 a month. Wow.
Yeah, while you're figuring it out, and then you can invest in the one that you like the best.
I like that. Thank you. So you can rent, figure it out, or just try. And people connect more with video. They get to hear how you speak. They get to see how you look and different things of that nature. So, but this client saw me doing that, and the next time we worked together, they complimented me and felt I was big time. But also, I was able to charge 3 times what I charged him in the past, and he didn't have a problem with it. I was expecting him to, he didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, the client I was sharing earlier that I'm not working with anymore, he left prices lower. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's okay. You can find somebody else. That's okay.
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So, and let's be honest, over time, people get better, right? So even if you charge something in the past, you're going to get better over the number of years. So it's not like you're the same person. So, and this is just another example. Ryan Stewart, he is an SEO consultant and he has an agency, but he's literally teaching about SEO on his YouTube channel and he has a whole bunch of things there. I'll just say this. I went through his videos. Nothing that he said was new to me. But that's not the point. The point is he is showing people how much he knows. Yeah. So it's not that he needs to be on the forefront of YouTube, be on the #1 page, go viral, have thousands of views. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people watch the video. It matters who is watching the video. And all you need is your potential clients or a founder of an organization to see you can communicate well through video to do that. And again, I just wanted to, if you go through Ryan's YouTube and you click through his website, this is what he says. He doesn't say I'm an SEO guy, I'm an SEO freelancer. He says, we solve marketing problems. Again, if you're a freelancer, you're a solver of problems. You don't use that term because people assume certain things about freelancers, right? So call yourself something that shows you're a solver of problems. That just reiterates that point. So yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but okay, so I've been spinning my title in all kinds of ways, right? And it's always like some people get what I do and some people I don't, and some people misconstrue it, and then I'm told, no, list the actual things you do, right? I mean, so, because what did you call yourself again?
Digital marketing strategist.
Strategist, okay. But you design websites.
Mm-hmm.
That's the product you deliver, right?
It is.
Okay. So I'm assuming on your website somewhere it says like you design website for this stuff, but you're showcasing the problems that your web design solves.
True. And also, and we're going to get into this because
I'm sorry.
No. I'll mention it right now. I'll mention it right now. If you focus too much in one area, that's good. I think everybody should specialize. But when you start working with larger brands, what you specifically offer in this corner may not be the answer for every problem that they have. So a lot of people come to me and say, I need a website. For example, the client I showed you the quote from, when he came to me, he said, we need a brand new website. We have a grand opening. He's telling me all these things. And the actual solution of what he needed was, okay, you built this building for millions of dollars. You're having a grand opening. I built this website for you, but guess what? That's not the important thing. You need to update all your Google business listings because people are going to go to an old location. They don't know the new buildings here. So even though I built a new website and everything, that wasn't what he needed. What he really needed was, Google business location services updated. Otherwise, everybody goes to the wrong place. So again, yes, specialize and just communicate what you have to do, but that might not be the solution to every problem. That's why I called myself a digital marketing strategist, because based on what you need, it could change a little bit. Maybe it is a website. Maybe you don't need one. Maybe I just make you an Eventbrite page. That's it. Maybe you don't need that. Maybe you just need one specific landing page and people will call you. You don't need all these websites with about us. Maybe you don't need it. It depends on their needs when we get into how they really make money, that the solution really shows itself. So to your point, choose whatever name is best and probably easy for people to understand, but that's probably not a limit to your knowledge on how to write things a certain way or even frame things a certain way. I know some people want things easy. Tell me what you do. Web design. Okay, great. A website. But it's maybe that's not the problem. Maybe not. Just this past week, I met with some people and they want a website so badly. And I asked them, but if we make this website and it brings in double the traffic, your staff can't handle it. So maybe we do a marketing campaign, but it's for you to hire more people. Then we get to the point of rolling out everything, because that's not really your problem. Your problem is you have a short staff right now, right? I can make a website. I don't mind taking the money, but that's not really going to help you, right? So that's another thing. And, I talked about Ryan Stewart. He's SEO. He put all his content on YouTube, and he has his own website focusing that he solves problems. But really, we have an opportunity to control Google. It's not so large that we can't influence what it has because it's pulling our information. So if we wanted to control it, these are some quick things that we can do. And like I said, you don't have to do a mountain of things, just enough for when people see your name and hear what you do, they have an idea that you're knowledgeable. So any social network from Facebook, Instagram, Behance is a portfolio website, Dribbble, which is more so for designers, LinkedIn, set those things up. But also, do some writing. Everything needs to start with writing, and you can communicate the value of what you've done. So it can be blog articles on your own site. You can write guest articles for other people, other brands. There are certain websites, for example, you said project management. What comes to mind is I know of many companies or many software as a services that offer project management software, like Monday.com or Workfront. They're not sponsoring this talk, by the way, but Workfront or Monday.com, or another one is Project Gantt is another software as a service that does project management. And there's many other tools out there. Basecamp, they all have blogs and they need people to write on them. So as a project manager, you could write for them, and your name is attached to it. So just anywhere you can do to write. Video, we talked about YouTube already. You mentioned podcasting, which is a medium that's blowing up right now in a good way. So you can get on your podcast on iTunes, just record. At first you can start your phone, maybe upgrade, get some equipment, podcasting mics. A good USB one costs $50. I think one is on sale actually right now. And you can start your own podcast and just talk about what it is that you know or how you solved a problem. And all this is just feeding into Google, so when people search, they say, oh, I see this person is teaching on subjects. They probably know a lot. Okay. So again, I still was trying to inch closer to get to luxury and premium. I'm still trying to inch closer. I did all these things. I adjusted my pricing. I changed my title. I started making more content for YouTube, Google. So now when you search for me, it says what I actually want it to say. So I was like, okay, great. I still am trying to figure out how can I work with high value brands and clients. But there's something missing. One part that was missing was I didn't know what they were saying on the other side. I didn't know what happens when an agency or a freelancer comes in a room and tries to pitch a big agency and then they leave. What do they say? Or how do they go about making decisions for who they pick? I didn't know. Like I said, I asked other freelance creatives and they knew the creative side of things and what they did for pitching, but I didn't know what was going on in the internal conversation. So I worked at a corporation. Got a job at a corporation in the marketing department. And, in a sense, I was undercover because I was a freelancer, but I was, just interested in hearing what they have to say. And I was very surprised at some of the things they said because I thought they just picked whoever was the most creative or did the best work. Price is reasonable, you did the best work. And I remember even sitting in the room hearing pitches from different freelancers and different agencies, and I'm like, oh, this is great, hire. And they're like, well, no, they didn't necessarily come from a strategic angle. And I'm like, yeah, but their work is the best. But they're like, no, we don't care about that. You don't care about the best work? I thought, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wow, okay. So I just started observing and picking up on a few things. And some of the things that I picked up are shown here. There's a creative process. And where you are in the creative process really determines how well they listen to your pitch. I was like, okay. You have to think strategically. Are you able to lay out a plan that you're able to follow that produces results, or a process that you have that leads to results, and you're going to apply the same process to them because it worked for other people? Responsiveness. We email people and ask questions that we need work, or we need agencies or freelancers. Who responds first? Because they use that to judge how quickly maybe you'll respond on the regular. And I was like, hey, maybe the person went out of town. Maybe the person was busy. Maybe they're on vacation. That doesn't mean they're not responsive, but they really viewed it as, when we have this first initial email, how quickly do they respond? That way we know if we have a question when we work with them, they'll be very fast. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Can you communicate clearly, like in a presentation type format? Again, this is why I was mentioning YouTube videos. People need to see that you can speak well and you can communicate a specific point well, because they're trying to envision what do you look like when you're actually in the room presenting to us or senior leadership. I'm like, oh, okay. I have patient for payment. I think some corporations, the fastest they can pay people is 20 days, just because it has to go through this and accounting, and sometimes that's the fastest they can do. So are you willing to be aware of that and accommodate that? I'm not saying you have to wait, because sometimes you can say, I'm not doing it until you pay me, and then they'll figure out a way to do it. But I did notice those who are patient, they get paid, and it's normally a larger invoice. And then do you focus on results? Everybody can make something that meets a deadline or looks good, but does it actually focus on results? So another thing I learned in talking about the creative process was, what is the difference between a freelancer, a consultant, or an agency? This is a big question that I looked into, and I was able to at least make some headway on it. And this really reflects the creative process in answering this question. And I'm oversimplifying this, to be honest. This is greatly being oversimplified. But the creative process is made up of these 4 elements: planning, strategy, then you go to creation, development, then you go to execution, production, then you go to analyze and optimize. So you start with a plan, you create something, you execute on what you created, and then you analyze to see if it worked, and then you start over again. That's the creative process. And with that, and we'll step through a little more detail on each one of these. So for planning and strategy, it's something like this. You work with a client to understand what their goals are, and then you help, in conjunction with the client, put a chart forward on what you're going to do. So you're including them in the process and you're planning. This is like offering a discovery session, or where you're going to meet with them and you all devise the plan together, or something of that nature. And you're talking about strategy, their branding, where they are in the market. You're trying to understand that. Going from there, creation development, this is the creation of assets to be used in a marketing campaign to enhance their sales funnel. So this is most of what we do. We're making something. We're producing something, and then the company is going to benefit from it somehow, right? That's most of the time of what we do. We're creating things. But, execution and production, somebody needs to put what is made into market. If that's a commercial, is it going on TV? Is it going on YouTube? Is it going on pre-roll? You have to wait 5 seconds to watch it first before you move on and watch a video on YouTube. Where is that going to be deployed? Is it a commercial that shows before a movie? Where is it going to be put? Right? Yes, they show commercials before movies. Who knew? But yeah, so these are marketing campaigns or even social media campaigns. And then lastly, who's going to look at what was done and tell us how effective it was? Who's going to review things and give feedbacks? For me, a lot of times working on a website, I'm working with Google Analytics, and I'm saying this is the pages they went to, this is how long they were there, this is why it worked. Or you can even ask surveys. You can put a survey on someone's site and ask them, did you enjoy this article? Or how well did you enjoy this level of content? And ask the question and get feedback. Different things like that. So all of those things together is the creative process. Those 4 elements, and you put them all together, and you look at, like I said, I'm oversimplifying it, but when you put them all together, this is the creative process. But we also see in the creative process where a consultant, a freelancer, and an agency lies, right? So if you're a consultant, you're on the left 2 quadrants. I have a story about it. Should I tell this story? I'll tell the story. All right, so I was working at a company, and I came up with like this custom report that no one knows how to make, and it told everyone in the company how much everything cost. Like how much, so if you sold something, you knew how much money you'd make. Or if you put this with that and that, you'd make this. Or you can sell that, but don't sell it by itself, sell it with that. And everyone was like, wow, this report is awesome. So, and the company was able to make better decisions. And then one day a consultant came and, they said, hey, I really need the report that you made in order to help us inform and make decisions. I was like, sure. Well, here you go. Oh, I need one new. Okay, I can make one. It's going to take a while because what do you need it for? Everything in the store. That's a lot. Sure. So I gave them the report, so on and so forth. Long story short, this person, they borrowed my computer for something. I said, sure, use my computer. I have another one. I don't mind. And they use my computer. And whatever they use my computer for, they forgot to shut down because when I opened my computer, I saw an invoice of what they were charging. Does anybody want to guess what it was per hour?
They were consultants,
They're a consultant.
500 an hour?
That's about right, except for one of them 100, 600 an hour. But the thing that made me very curious was, but they couldn't do what they needed to do until they got my report. But their job as a consultant was to talk with the owner of the business and chart out what they plan to purchase in the future. My report was also having the consultant answer this question, right? But the consultant is helping planning or they're optimizing or making something better. That's a consultant. Now I helped the consultant, but the problem was I was on the other side. I was on the right side. I was the person who created something. I created something and then it was handed off, right? I wasn't making as much as a consultant, but this is where most freelancers live. And even as I make web designs and different things of that nature, I'm over here on the right side too. I'm creating something or I'm putting something in market. And then from there, maybe they want results, maybe they don't, just kind of move on. But that's kind of what I'm doing. But that can only get you so far because a lot of high value clients and organizations, they really want more. They want the whole thing. And agencies tend to offer the whole thing. We'll sit with you, we'll help you come up with a plan and make a good decision. Then we'll create it for you. We'll get different people and expertise in different areas. They'll help you create it. And then we'll put it in the market for you. And then we'll tell you what's working. And if it's not working, we'll make these changes and we'll start over again. Yeah. And companies want that. They want the whole thing.
Yeah, that's actually what I do. And I never thought of myself. I just do it because you have to if you're going to make good things.
In a sense. Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
make things that work unless you're studying
them and correct. Planning.
And you can't do it fast for money without process.
Correct.
Wow.
Very
A
good.
good freelancer is actually an agency if you look at it that way. If they're good at the
True.
Yeah.
But some freelancers don't think of it that way
I never did until just now.
Or even present themselves like that. They just do one job and say, here you go, I did it, bye. And they move on to the next client. But that's what we're going to talk about, how to shift to do more things that are agency-like. So today, where do you fit in the chart? Do you think you're a consultant? Do you think you're a freelancer? Do you think you are an agency? Me personally, I think I'm somewhere in between freelancer agency. But based on what we just talked about, how do you all feel you fall in the creative process? And are you a consultant, a freelancer, or agency?
Well, my passion is the creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other 3 quadrants for me are just necessary to get paid to do what I love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, before today, I never would have said agency, but at this point, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I've actually wrote it down that I can demonstrate each of these. Like, I can demonstrate that I do them already. Right?
Okay,
I just
good.
need to write it down. So,
good.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah,
I'd
that's
like
good.
to kiss you and hug you, but I don't know you. But yeah, this is fantastic.
Okay.
I'm like totally bummed for every single person who didn't get here today.
That's okay.
Yeah.
People made it here, needed to be here.
Yeah.
Definitely. Where do you think you fall in that?
Somewhere between consultant and agency.
Consultant agency?
So, yeah,
Okay.
When I decided to do freelancer, I term it independent contractor because I contract work out.
Yeah, sure.
I took a business name. So it's not just Shannon. I'm doing business as Bending Orange. I have
Good.
a company name.
Good.
And so, yeah, I start with the plan. So even though I'm project manager, I'm also the project team. I'm also the creator, the tester, the producer for most of the small projects.
Okay, good.
And it's mostly entertainment industry, musicians, and South by Southwest music.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Things like that. And so, yeah, I end up being the one to call and make the ticket reservations to get the bands here. Stage management, load out crew, as well as working with vendors, working with all the people that do all the things. So the planning, the creation, the analysis. It's where I need more. I do that, but it's not at any level that's true data analytics because I'm not a data analytics person. I've always used systems to do that
Mm-hmm.
So I was a teacher for 20 years, and so using student data systems, student management systems, student learning systems, I had big enterprise level systems that just automatically I push the button and my information arrives. So yeah, I know that that's something I need to tackle, is especially the Google Analytics. I'm great at pushing out a survey and being like, what'd you think? How'd you like it?
Good,
what would I do
good.
here? But to really analyze that data and drill down to it and how to use it.
Okay, we'll talk a little more about that. I'm glad you're doing those things. That's very good. We'll talk more about that.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like, at the level of the high-end client that you're discussing, do they actually look at the data you generate? I work with small agencies and solopreneur type people right now, and they honestly don't look at the data. Like, they have no idea that I'm doing good work for them, right? It's like, how often do they look at that data?
It depends on how. It depends on how it's framed, because you have to frame it in the context of, you paid me to do something. What I'm doing for you is actually making you money, and this is how much. Oh, they care about that. So you have to frame it like that, or if it's not specifically money, something.
It's more awareness.
Yeah, something tied to money, and there's always a way to tie it to money. Even if I worked with a lot of nonprofits as well, there's always a way to try to tie it to what they view as valuable. So if you find out what they view as valuable, you even mentioned South by Southwest. Something as simple as, how many people were late to the venue, like performance act that you needed? Oh, nobody. Oh, okay. Now, it's hard to put a price on that, but we all know what happens when people are late, performers are late, 20 minutes late, the crowd gets unruly, people say, oh, this is weak, I'm never coming back. Things happen that's tied to money, you can get to it. Now, it's hard to sometimes concretely capture that, but we can always talk about that, and something always has value. But the one thing I did notice also about the creative process and the consultant, the freelancer, and the agency is, and I did everything too, when you do everything, that's an awesome skill, but this happens. And this is what I saw when at the company, freelancers were seen as a higher risk because they were like by themselves. So if one person does everything, if one person gets sick, oh, the whole production stops. That's the assumption. That doesn't mean it's just, hey, I'm sick. Let me take a week and I'll catch up next week.
It's also an assumption that freelancers are just in between jobs, and they might start your project. And
freelancers are in between jobs, yeah. Exactly, or correct. So those are assumptions. Those are not necessarily true. But one thing also happened that I heard in conversation. We were working with a freelancer. They did excellent work for us. I felt they did excellent work for us. They were a graphic designer. But I think they made over 100K just for our company, just working with our company. And people were saying, I mean, it's just a freelancer. They're making too much money. And I'm like, how are they making too much money? It's just you're giving them volume and they're responding to the volume that you're giving them. What's wrong with that? But they're like, it's too much money. And the reason that was happening is the only gauge people have for pricing is what they paid in the past. So to the employees, they were looking at the freelancer like, we're paying them too much. It's not too much, but they felt that way because they made more than them. However, it's true, right?
Maybe you should go freelance.
Yeah, correct. But it's like, we're paying this freelancer too much. They got over 100K just off of our company. What's the problem? However, I did notice when it was an agency, nobody cared. Nobody ever brought that up. Sometimes they'd say, oh, we're paying the agency too much. How much? Oh, we paid them millions of dollars. I'm like, oh, okay. So you don't have a problem with paying them 100K?
It doesn't matter, just your return on investment for that marketing budget that you've established.
True, but for some reason, when it was given to an individual, it was like, too much. But an agency, nobody, it didn't bother anybody, because agencies have this allure of that they're larger and
established.
and they have this machine that is working and they're producing. But I mean, agencies are just made up of people like us too. So, but that was kind of the thought.
The difference of having a storefront versus working from your home.
In a sense.
Working in a co-working space.
In a sense, that whole perception, correct. The whole perception of
the brick and mortar brings value.
It used to some people. I mean, we see that currently going away, but in the past that was seen as more valuable. You know, so that was somewhat of the stigma that was happening in the past. And I also learned that, you know, again, I'm still undercover. I also learned that you need to think strategically. And what I mean by that is, so if you are a freelancer or consultant, you need to know what a certain strategy is and how that strategy helps the company accomplish something. But a better breakdown of it is this. Companies are made up of, they have a mission, they have a vision, strategy, and then there's a roadmap of what are we going to do, and then there's the execution that we're executing on the plan that we came about. And strategy is the middle part that ties a mission and vision of a company to actually taking action to do that thing. So another way to phrase it is strategy represents the set of guiding principles for your road mapping and execution tasks to ensure they align with your mission and vision. If a company has a mission and vision to make sure to build water wells overseas for underserved communities, that's their mission and vision, to give everybody clean water. Great. But the strategy has to match and align with that vision and also represent the company in the best light. I mean, we could easily make a punk rock music video, you know, called More Water, and put that out there. But if it doesn't match up with the brand's overall mission and vision and values, then it's like, you kind of missed the mark. So that tactic is okay, but it's the wrong strategy. So strategy is important to a lot of these larger companies because they want to continually represent their mission and vision well. And if you're able to lay out a plan and say, this is what I can do for you, and this is how it accomplishes your mission and vision. And like, keep harping on that. This is how it accomplishes your mission and vision. Your mission and vision are these things. Here's my plan. I plan to do this, and we're going to roll it out and do this on Facebook, this, that, or the other. And this is how it accomplishes your mission and vision. Oh. Because I've seen people not hire freelancers and agencies alike because they didn't felt they were strategic. That's what they meant when they said strategic. I don't know if this aligns with it, but if you can show that or at least speak to it, you're ahead of the curve. So again, in talking about an agency of one, there's two sides to this thing. Either you yourself become an agency or just partner with an agency that already exists, right? So there's two sides to this, two sides of the coin. So again, going from there, either you become one or you partner with an agency. We're going to look at partnering with agencies. If you were to partner with a specific agency, that'll give you an opportunity to learn a little bit of how they work. So if you haven't done that before, that's definitely something I recommend doing first. And I have an example. These are some different agencies. This is Landor. This is Blind in LA. This is Pentagram. Anybody heard of Pentagram? One of the most popular agencies that get all like the big brands. And the Black Sheep Agency, they're an agency out in Houston. A little quirky, but they tend to get big accounts. I remember they even had an account that was connected to marketing and things for the United States government. So they've done different things of that nature. So all these agencies live out there. There's hundreds, if not thousands of them, and there's many even here in Austin. Many here in Austin. But I would recommend finding one and just seeing how they work, talk to them, go to their website, see how they have things laid out. But let's look at an example of Blind, who I admire very much. And the quote I said earlier from Chris Do, he actually is the founder of Blind, and they're out in LA. And I'm actually going to LA next week. So hey, I'll probably try to stop by and just say hey. But Blind, I admire their work. They do very well, and I like their mindset and their approach. And I think the mistake some people make is they try to reach the agency. They send an email to the general email for the agency, and they say something like, "Hey, I really like you all work. Just want to introduce myself." That might just get lost. I wouldn't recommend trying to reach the agency. I'd recommend trying to reach one person who works at the agency. Try to reach one single person. And better yet, find your counterpart. So if you're trying to reach somebody who's at the agency, find the copywriter at the agency. Find the project manager, the executive producer, the associate producer, somebody of that nature, right? The chief operating, somebody over operations or how things are done or accomplished. Find your counterpart. For me, I need to find designers or somebody who's in digital or a developer, whoever, but find your counterpart at the agency. That's who you talk to and start building a relationship with, even if it's on social media, even if it's just email. Because the CEO gets all the emails, right? But everybody else, hey, they work there too. For example, I mentioned Chris Doe. I quoted him in this talk, and this is his LinkedIn. He's the founder of that agency Blind I mentioned. He's very well connected, also very busy. And there he goes. He works at Blind. I can just click on the title, Blind, and it takes me to their company page. If I'm on their company page, it says see all 61 employees. Okay, I can click on that on LinkedIn and see who works there. And I can just scroll through the names of people who work there and contact people who are my counterpart. I don't have to focus on the big agency. I can just contact different people. There's many different, for me, as a designer, there's many different people. I mean, there's at least me glancing at this. There's like 4 people I can contact who are not the CEO who's very busy and traveling all the time, But more specifically, Ben Burns is somebody that I do follow online, and I do connect with him, and he, reflects my philosophy and different things of that nature as well. And he started as a freelancer and then started an agency and then finally started working here. So he knows the route I'm at because he was once there as well. So Ben Burns, he's one. And I remember I followed him on social media, Twitter, we would talk back and forth, Instagram, we talk back and forth here and there. I don't know if he knew who I was or not. But one day he said, hey, we're coming to Houston to meet with the client. Maybe after we meet with the client, we'll be at this place. And I was like, oh, I see it. Okay, I'll go there. Went there, met with him, talked with him, had a good conversation. I was trying to be humble, I guess. I didn't talk much about what I do or who I was. I was just more so answering different questions. And he later on after the conversation, whenever, he Googled me, right? This is why I mentioned earlier, we have to start controlling Google and putting content out there, because I didn't sell anything. I didn't give him my business card. He went and looked on his own because he said, oh, if this guy knows what he's doing, he'll have something. That's why I mentioned earlier, we have to give Google content of some sort, video, writing, even on our own websites. So when people look, it didn't matter. He looked at what I was putting out there on his own. And when he looked, he found a video that I did. I think that video is almost 2 years, it's over a year old. He found a video that I did, and he says, wow, document everything, people. Nathan does a great job of this. Check it out, subscribe, show love. And he put out a video that I made some time ago. But he did this on his own initiative. But I'm like, oh, he looked. But if I didn't have anything for him to look at to show my expertise, he might have just looked and said, oh, forgot about me. But again, the one thing that was missing from this process that I kind of kicked myself in the foot, but that's okay because they have a client in Houston. So that means they're going to be back. So this is what I'm working on to make sure I kind of bring it home. My portfolio needs to look just like whatever their agency produces. So whatever work I've done in the past, I need to present it in a way that looks like how they work. So he can see, oh, wow, Nathan knows how to lay things out and communicate value. So to that point, any agency, like I said, in Austin, as we are right now, find an agency for whatever you do, find your counterpart, talk with them, start building a relationship with them, whether it be following them on social media or otherwise. Start talking with them, speaking with them, working with them, because they will eventually look you up. And that's why content needs to be out there. But also, however the agency works and however they lay things out, however they have their case studies, start doing the same thing. Copy what they do, mimic what they do, borrow ideas, emulate them, if you will, because if they end up seeing how you present your work and it matches their ethos, it matches how they think, then they say, wow, this person already is similar to how we work. They're probably easier to work with because they get it. So, and here's an example. On one side is Blind Agency's work, and on the other side is my work. But the way it's laid out, I mean, which one looks better? It's like, it looks like it's made by the same person. Like, what have you. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that is available. If you go to any agency website, you can see how they lay things out and, in a sense, mimic their style, but make sure you're talking about what you did, any challenges you overcame, and the results that you were able to produce. But if you have anything of that nature and mimic their style, it shows and it looks like you're of a certain level of professionalism, rather than saying, I did this for this company, here's a picture of it. But no, I started mimicking their style. So that's what I was kicking myself in the foot in. I wish I had a little better arranged, but that's okay. Like I said, they're coming back. And if I start putting these things out there, because he follows me now, at least the person I was targeting, they'll start saying, Nathan probably gets it. Okay. So you increase your chances of working with agencies who work with larger brands when you demonstrate you align with the agency's way of doing things. So different things, any number of agencies that you follow, if you emulate them, they can start to build up trust that you're on their level, if you will, even though you may have always been on their level, but you just didn't communicate it in a certain way. So again, you increase your chances if you lay things out in a certain manner. And this is I actually met this person as well that very same night when they came into town. His name is Matthew. He said, as long as the freelancer is responsive and has skills, I don't care if they're local or remote. So when he gets a client and they're full and they need people to work, he starts looking for freelancers. He's like, I don't care where they are. If they have the skills and they're responsive, it doesn't matter. And again, he didn't say this, but this is one thing I picked up on. If they're responsive and they have the skills and I already see they produce work like us, it's a no-brainer. It's just a matter of if they know you or not, right? So the second half, we talked about working with the agency. This is how to become an agency, if you will. And if you were to become an agency, the best thing I could recommend is if you're working as a freelancer, and we talked about this earlier, you're creating something, you're executing something, and this speaks again to your question you asked earlier, how can you move closer to what consultants do? What type of planning strategy or analyzing, optimizing can you add that shows whatever it is, the work that you did or the production that you did, that there's a return on it? And we can get to specific questions and situations because some things are easier than others, but you can move towards these things and you'll start to better become more of at least an agency feel, at least to the client, because you're offering these services. So start moving this way. A great example is, I know someone who makes logos. What they probably should have done, and they tend to work with the client, get feedback from the client, and they make the logo how the client wants. But what they probably could do is get the client's current logo, do a survey, put it out there, get feedback on it, and see what people think about that one. Then after you design your logo, do another survey and see what people think. And literally just compare and say, this is what people said before, this is what people said after. We still need to test it and market to see what happens, but that's a small thing to add to a logo designer's workflow to move closer to being a consultant and showing like they're analyzing and optimizing, even if it's an illustration, right? So that's an example of one thing. Has anyone seen this movie?
Can I add something?
Yeah. Sure do.
Been working with a logo designer.
Okay.
And she's lovely, but I'm absolutely appalled with the level of work because the logo is so simple. It is literally a box with some text in it. And I mean, I've had to send it back. It's like the frame around the box disappears on one side.
Oh, really?
Can you fix the PNG and the JPEG? Because those are the ones I need to use. The colors are not right. So, I mean, I literally went and was like, I'll make the style guide. I'll pull the color codes. I'll give you the hex, the RGB, the CMYK. I'll give you all of it. You know, instead of just being like, would you like this gold and black with a silver outline? Gave them to her. And so I feel like I've done all that work. And in my mind, I'm like, okay. And yeah, I was like,
Well, that person missed out.
her feelings, but we're probably not going to use her work now.
Yeah, what that person probably missed out on was the opportunity to present the logo in the medium in which is going to be used. So he or she should have made the logo and then had mock-ups to where they're showing the logo on a box, on a package, on something, on whatever the medium is going to be used for.
Which
So,
I had asked her that.
but did they do that?
She's
Did they
like,
do any of that?
Well, I'll send you a separate invoice for that. And I was like, never mind.
Yeah, they need to work on their
So then
process.
I did it. And so last night I sent it to my team and I was like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And they're like, would you pay Jessica to do this? No, I did it.
Hey, maybe that particular freelancer should work with people that are a little lower on the spectrum, not necessarily companies like yours. So, again, that's something to think about and something there as well. Has anyone seen this movie, Avengers? I like the movie very much. Great movie.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Kids are really into it. So
I have a question. Do you know what this movie is about?
Teamwork.
Teamwork. Good. Anything else?
Being super.
Being super. Yeah. There's many people here. You said being super. This person does.
From some dude that's upset about his girlfriend left him and he's going to destroy the universe now.
Yeah. So
She is, or something.
this person does have powers. That person does have powers. This one doesn't either. But anyway, yeah, they're super. And that's what the movie's about. But what I saw the movie was about is this movie is about a group of freelancers coming together to solve a larger problem. Because everybody works by themselves, independently, and then they had a problem that they really needed to band together. And I can definitely say I didn't do the best of this in the past because I wanted to control every aspect of the quality. So I felt like I had to have my hands on it. But in all honesty, it would be more advantageous if we all did the same and worked together so we can get with larger agencies. Because there's some agencies who won't give any individual a call because we're not an agency. But if we literally just paired together to get work done, and it sounds like you do a little bit of this as well, but if we just pair together to get certain things done, we'd be able to get larger clients and work on larger projects. And agencies are really no different from us, because there's another quote from Chris Do. He mentioned agencies sell the talent of their designers. That's it. They're only as good as the designers they can get. And a lot of times these same designers are available to us. And here's a funny thing. At his agency, who has these all top designers, they still freelance on the side. So who doesn't want extra money, right? Because even though they work at his agency, they're being paid a salary. So the potential to earn more would be freelancing. So most people say, I'm looking for a freelance web designer, I'm looking for a freelance writer. No one really thinks to say, I'm going to go to this agency and say, hey, you want to make some extra money? How much you want to make? This. Okay, that's your price. No one really thinks to talk to agency employees as recruiting them for freelancers, but they freelance because everybody wants extra money. So that's another place you can actually go to. So really, an agency really has no advantage over what we could do in this room except for a relationship with someone. But that's why I mentioned we would start reaching out.
The talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that is.
But we can get to them too. So then they really don't have anything except for the relationship with the end client. But again, if they lost all the designers, they'd be done. They wouldn't be able to do anything.
So let me see if I'm gathering.
Mhm.
So in my consulting business, the project management business strategy, if I needed an SEO expert,
Mm-hmm.
I could third-party contract that person out to third-party work my project, or I could partner with them, and now we present as agency.
You could. Why not?
Okay.
Some people like that. Some people are like, oh, we want our brand name out there. Either way, it's like, do you want the invoice paid or not? But some people are more willing to do it than others, and some don't mind. And then you might say something like this. That goes back to the portfolio. You could even lay out your portfolio and then give their company credit if you wanted. It doesn't matter. But you own the work because you own the relationship. So you can still say, okay, yeah, you can work with us. That's fine. I'll give you credit in the portfolio. A lot of agencies don't do that. They make something and they say, we did it.
Oh yeah, the agency owns your work.
But they don't give credit to the individuals. You can easily do that, and that would be highly appreciated because a lot of agencies don't let people do that. So if we were able to assemble a team, even all we really need is, see, you didn't even know I made this. We would need an account manager, someone who manages a relationship. We need someone to do the strategy. We would need someone who's creative. And then we need somebody to take that creative and put it in the market in the right channels. And then we need someone to tell us did it work? And all these people are kind of out there freelancing. So literally, if we brought all these types of people together, we have an agency, if you will. And we can start tackling larger projects. But that's not the only thing. This also works. I mentioned partnering with an agency and working with other freelancers to become an agency. This also works if we did it by reaching out to the companies themselves. It's like the same process. So we could easily go on Fortune.com, look at the Fortune 500, Walmart, ExxonMobil, Apple, whoever. We can easily go to their sites and find out who are our counterparts at their company. Because I don't know about you all, but whenever I worked at a company and we're kind of filled to the brim and can't really handle more work, they say, man, we might need to hire a contractor or extra talent. They say, do you know anybody? Before they don't just go on Google, they say, who do you all know? The employees. They ask them and they say, oh, and then they come off the top of the head of whoever they know.
Yeah, I was thinking today, because I'm at a turning point in my business, and I was like, every single awesome client I've gotten has been word of mouth from people who knew me, or knew of me, or they were Facebook friends with me and they saw me talk about my work sometimes. Yeah, that's exactly how it works, because that's automatic vetting process right there, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So the same process applies, and this is another link, and like I said, this will be in the slides. You can look at the Inc.com, look at the Inc. 5000, or the most 5,000 companies who are up and coming. A lot of these companies tend to work with even the larger companies as well. So you could even though they're not seen as a major company, they have major income, major revenue, you could easily work with them as well and add them to your portfolio. But really, it's the same process. If I wanted to maybe work with Apple on a project, I'm a web designer. Okay, let me find out who works for Apple as a web designer. And then I can connect with them and make them aware of who I am. And then again, they might Google me or see my portfolio and see, oh, this person produces good work, kind of like us. And when they're asked a question, hey, we need some more work, we need maybe some more freelancers, do you all know everyone? Oh, there's this one guy named Nathan. So it takes away trying to reach the company by just reaching the individual and just focusing on whoever your counterpart is. And it's repeating the same process. Let's all make sure we're titling ourselves the right way with what we call ourselves. Let's make sure we have some type of content for people to look at. Let's reach out to people who are counterparts. And when they start looking at what we have to offer, they see we can produce of a similar quality. And we might be able to get in the door because they know us, not the company. It's just an individual. So again, the key is relationships. You said it very well. Connecting with those people. And just as a quick review, this is what we talked about again. Positioning. For some of us, we do need to get our prices in order and change them to reflect more high value that we offer. We might need to also change our perceptions, put out more content so that people can see we actually do know what we're talking about. And what do companies expect? There's a list. And like I said, I'll share these slides with you so you see what that list is. And the process to partner with an agency is the same process to really partner with larger companies, targeting people who work there that are your counterpart. And how do you become an agency? You really just need those 5 areas: the project manager or the account manager, right? Somebody to do strategy, somebody to do creative, somebody to execute, and somebody to tell us did it work or not. And you might independently contract out all those things. That's perfectly fine. But once you do that, you're just as effective as an agency. It's just your level of responsiveness. So again, these 2 things, as long as they're in order, you have confidence in your skill, and you painted the right perception, you can start targeting and working with these agencies. So I know it's been a marathon and getting through this, and I've appreciated you all talking and us talking through these things and asking questions, but that is what I had for an agency of 1. And I've seen this work very well for different people. And like I said, I'm still applying this also because there's different agencies that I have my eye on. I'm just building relationships with the people. And as soon as they need extra work, oh, they know who I am. Only because I put out content and started building a relationship. So that was the talk. Like I said, I'll send all these slides to you. And more uniquely, if you guys have any questions, guys and gals, you have any questions, even you all in the back, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and we can dive a little deeper into what those questions are. But yeah, thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I don't know if there's any deeper questions, but that's what I had. But
Well, I'm just like impatient to like go through all your notes and start doing. So like I'm super clear from the stuff you said, like what's happening next for my content, my marketing content. Yeah.
they.
Awesome.
So if anybody needed it, I think this was a link. And as soon as it's done, well, actually, if you go there right now, you'll immediately get the slides. But whenever this video is done and everything, I'll get that back out as well. But if you go there right now, you get all the slides and see what I said and the list I had and the different things of what you need, what companies look for, and different things like that I found to be very enlightening to me.
When you
So, yeah.
do business, do you do business as your name or as a business name?
I do it as a business name. InFocus Media is what I do it as.
Is that like an LLC or proprietorship?
It's sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship.
That's what I did too. And I don't think that yet I need to go to LLC. Maybe at some point, if I get to that agency level or I have employees or,
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I understand.
But, okay.
Now, I will say this as a caveat. I have to say it. I am not a lawyer or giving out tax advice. I definitely think you should get specific tax advice from a legal professional. However, there are a lot of benefits to having an LLC, more specifically legal protection so people can't sue you and take all your money or personal assets. So having an LLC, if you set that up, you can elect to function as a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a corporation, and different things like that.
LLC, it's like something about like a board of directors. It almost operates like a mini corporation.
Yeah, if you elect to operate as a corporation, you would need board of directors.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can say you can even issue stock as well, but that's later. But you would just say the board is me and maybe some people you trust, or maybe it's just you. That's okay. That could work too.
I don't know. It's a risk assessment thing. Like for somebody like me, it's
Well, it's also
not a lot of damage.
It's hard to sue somebody over words, right?
It
It's like,
is, yeah. And I also have like a liability clause in my contract, and I also have like, as I told you, like you say when to publish, not me. So you've said this is good to go. Like so.
That's a good point about contracts.
It's like cheaper and easier to stay a sole proprietor because my liability is just like it's so low. I mean, yeah.
I've got a question. Do you use contracts for all the work you do?
I do.
Do you work without contracts?
No, because I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I always use a contract. I don't care how large or small it is. A contract should be in place. And my contract got larger over time because I made more mistakes. And every time I made a mistake, I said, I'm adding this in the contract the next time.
The advantage
Yeah.
also of having a contract is when someone's in breach, you don't send them a nasty email. You just like copy and paste that section from the contract and say, I need to know if you want to revisit this section because XYZ is happening, and like I worked with gang kids my last 4 years of teaching, so I have like a lot of conflict resolution background and nonviolent communication. It works so well with clients too. Rule number one is keep it logical and something that anyone would agree is true when you have a conflict, and the contract sets you up for that immediately because it's in writing and they agreed to it. So
Yeah, you're just trying to protect both parties with the contract, and pretty much, my contract, like I said, evolved over time, but a lot of that is covered in the contract. But you want to make sure both parties understand it, and I never work without a contract.
yeah, I don't never anymore either. Yeah, and it's interesting when you move up into the bigger clients with like net 30, net 60, net 120 payment terms. Because they talked about that a lot during this week of FreeCon. It's like, but smart freelancers get 50% up front. So I guess that's a question I have for you, working with larger companies. You can't demand that, right? I mean, they're like, that's what payroll does, or whatever.
Sometimes people always find a way around it, but normally what tends to happen is we understand your payment cycle, so we can send you an invoice in advance. So if you want to launch this in December, great, we'll give it to you in the beginning of November. But we can't move or do anything without that. Now, some people do this as well. It depends on how large the company is. Sometimes if you have an invoice you gave to a company and they have a contract and they've agreed they are going to pay you and they're pretty good on it, they're bankable on it for the most part. Sometimes you can use that, go to a bank and get a line of credit because they know Apple is going to pay you. They know Apple is going to pay. So then they'll say, how much do you need? Okay, here's a line of credit. You do what you need to do. You pay who you need to pay. And then finally when the business pays you, you're just like, line of credit's done, shut it down. Some agencies do that for sure. A lot of agencies do that for sure. Some people do that with a credit card. I'll just use my credit card. I don't like that. I'd rather no, pay and then we're good. But that's another way you could do. If the company is large enough and is bankable, you could get a line of credit, do what you need to do, and then they'll pay you when they get time. That does work. But a lot of times I'll just say, let's kick it off early enough so that by the time you pay, I can just get rolling and launch it for you.
So in the invoice early thing, it's like, this is what I'm assuming you're saying. Sign the project or the contract, you're good to go, everything's ready, you invoice right there.
No, it's pretty much after you go back and figure out what the cost is. See, this is where it gets back to planning. At least my process now that I definitely try to enforce is the first thing we need to do is not you just run with me and say you need a website or something. The first thing we need to do is we need to have a discovery session and talk about how I'm going to solve your problem, how I can help you, and when we're going to talk about this together, when we can roll this out. At that time, if we do the strategy session, whether they go with me or not, they have a plan. They can hire somebody if they want to. But for those strategy sessions, I do charge for those. I never used to. But I do now because I'm going to roll out a plan for you, a strategic plan. You can use me if you want to. You don't have to. You can use somebody else. That's fine. You already paid me for this.
Right.
So, yeah.
You get surgery, you still have to pay for all those doctor visits before
You
do
do.
the surgery.
They didn't do anything to you yet. Yeah, you're right. It's a similar thing. So do the strategy or discovery call. We lay out a plan together. And then we talk about those dates. How long does it normally take to pay? Oh, it takes 30 days. Okay, well, when are you launching? Okay, well, we might have to push the launch back because I have to get paid before we do this. And you're arriving at that together. I know for smaller tasks where they want to hire you and get something quick, I understand that. Normally I do productized services for those things, but even in those, it's like you need to pay it. Now, if you want to set up a payment plan to not feel obligated by your accounting department, it's over a certain amount, I don't mind doing that. So then that way the payment plan doesn't really hit a red flag in their organization that they have to go through legal review. Yeah, I don't mind doing that. That's fine. But again, that first payment is going to be made before I do anything.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. No,
Yeah.
that's really, really helpful because again, like I've been putting off going for larger paychecks because I like that my clients all have my payment terms. Like I have a card on file and it automatically goes into my account every month because I'm on retainer. And like that's sweet and I want to keep that going, you know. And they like it too because they don't have to worry about it. They'll get the invoice, but it's already paid and they're like, whatever, we don't care, you know.
And
like,
different organizations have different numbers on what triggers legal review or what have you. Some it's like over 500 or over 1,000, then it triggers a legal review or something like that. So as long as you have services that meet that or under that, or the payment plan is under that, then you kind of fly under the radar for those things.
Okay.
It really just depends on the organization itself. Yeah.
And what kind of controls they have set in to watch their spending.
True, because they have to understand. I can't do anything until I get paid.
Right. Yeah.
Even if I paid with a credit card, it's going to reach a certain level. Yes.
So back to you call it discovery session.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or road mapping session, whatever you want to call it.
and you're building the strategy, that initial meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I also charge for that initial
Good.
I
That's good.
found that in the beginning, when I used to set up a
Free consult?
I used to do free
when I used
consults.
to set up a
I did it for 15 minutes.
free consult, if you want to call it that, that if I gave it away, then it had no value. And it gets back to what you were talking about earlier with the creating a perception of value.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're giving away that initial meeting, they don't value it. So if you create a value around it, and it is a very
It is.
valuable meeting, I find that that is sometimes the most valuable meeting of all,
Mm.
because you have their attention. And they're gonna tell you a lot of things in a casual meeting of discovery, if you wish, that they may not remember to tell you later, or have the bandwidth to tell you later.
Mm-hmm. And they take the meeting more seriously. I know I've seen that.
Say again?
They take the meeting more seriously,
Absolutely, because they value it.
and they paid for it.
And I always offer a piece of it at no charge. I say the first 30 minutes is on me, but I try to set up a longer meeting for the first meeting. I try to get a 3-hour commitment.
Oh wow. Okay. Good.
I find that a 3-hour window is just about the right amount of time to have kind of a warm-up, to have a meet and greet kind of thing. Even if you've already met with them before, there's still a period, well, I think it's more a bonding time. And then the next 2.5 hours is really meat and potatoes.
Good.
And, you know, I'm all over, you know, the boards, and I've got notes going, and we're drawing, and we're bantering about, and we're getting to yes, no, and getting commitment. And when I walk out of that meeting, I get a check. And I tell them that in advance, that
Good.
we will do a lot of really core work during this meeting. And if you want to engage, I will need a check at the end of the meeting. So bring your checkbook and let's do the work.
That's good.
And I just set it up. And the expectation is there. And I'll tell you what, it also draws out those that are not willing to pay. And I had one of those about 5 months ago, maybe. And she called me. It was a referral. And she called me and wanted to engage, but she wanted me, I think, to do it at no charge. Because she liked me, she met me somewhere, and, you know, I offered to help her, that kind of thing. And in her mind, because she didn't have the money, she thought it was going to come at no charge. Well, you know, sometimes maybe pro bono is a good thing to do. It wasn't a good thing for me at that time.
Yeah.
I was too busy, but
But that has to be established up front, not expected at the end.
right. And so I brought it out in that conversation, even though she called me and was asking me to do the work. I was trying to set up this meeting I'm telling you about, this 3-hour meeting, or at least a 2-hour meeting, and there's a fee attached to it. And she realized that during the conversation, and she started to crawfish out of it and said, well, I'm not ready to start paying. I said, that's okay, I understand. So call me back when you are ready, and we'll get started.
There you go.
And so that way I kind of, you know, you can figure out who's going to pay. And probably she would have been a no pay
Yeah.
or a slow pay.
That's very wise. Those meetings, I normally ask if I can record them. I bring like a voice recorder or something, and some people, and then I send them that after the meeting so people can hear, this is what you said. So there's no confusion. Well, I thought it's like, well, it's actually recorded with your permission. So like you did not say that. If it's something new, great. Tell me it's something new, but it's something new. It's not something you said in the past. So yeah, same. I like how you think. That's good. Because I think I've been burned enough and done free work enough to where it's, I need to be, rewarded for the value I bring. Or, there's other options they can do. I love referring people. Oh, you can't afford me? That's great. Maybe you want to look over here. I don't mind giving people a solution or something else to consider. That's fine. Oh, you can't pay for a website? That's fine. Here's a service where you can build your own website. Here's some tutorials. Now, they don't want to do that. But, I don't mind pointing somebody in the right direction. But the whole free thing, we're trying to run a business. And if we just do a whole bunch of free work, we are going to be out of business and can't help anybody. So, but we want to be able to help as many as we can, but we have to be rewarded for that exchange of value.
And you brought it up earlier about creating a perspective of value.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that the more I charge, the more they value the work.
I agree.
There was a time when, early on in my consulting, that I would say, I'm going to give you, 2 hours of free consulting or something like that. And I changed the way I do that now. So let's say we create a budget, right? A monthly run rate or something, a budget. And let's say I do 3 hours of extra work because that's what it took to get the job done. Now I bill the full amount, the agreed upon amount. And then I show a discount of 3 hours.
Good. That's good.
$100 or whatever it is. And so they see the value. The invoice is for $650. And they have a $150 discount. So they see the value of the extra time.
Mm-hmm. I do that. I used to, same thing. I used to call it free or whatever. But even if I did something free, I still follow the same process. They get an invoice, but they're going to see negative of what is valued.
Exactly.
Because without that, it's innocuous. They're not aware. They don't know. They can't feel it. But I took the time to send them an invoice. They're like, oh, I got an invoice. Oh, I don't have to pay extra, but they did consider that. It's like, yes, it has value.
It gives them an opportunity to be grateful. They can then say thank you for that. They see that you did it and you didn't charge them. And that way they know also that if you do that work again, you're probably going to charge them.
There you go.
Now you created a value
True,
on that
true.
extra work you did. And
Yeah.
it wasn't budgeted maybe, but you did it and then you didn't charge. But next time you can point to that. Well, remember, I did it at no charge last time, but this time it's in your invoice.
There you go. A wise man once told me, get credit for everything you do. Could be or at least call out everything that you do, because otherwise it's assumed that it's just included. But we need to really start separating certain things, because not everybody does those same things. So we need to call those things out, because not everybody does them, and they're not always just included, no matter what it is.
Well, like in your work about ghostwriting and creating these blogs and the writing that she's doing, and you're saying about, showing value about all the pieces that you do, strategy and the analysis, and what value does it have if you're writing an article? How do you know what the impact of that's going to be if it attracts 5 people or 500? So if you do extra things in your research, when you're preparing, all of that, I think you can show that as additional work and line item it. And even if you're not going to quote unquote charge as part of the writing fee, you can show that you did 10 hours of analysis and research and quantifying and whatever those fancy words are you want to call it, and put a number on each of those. That's $100 an hour for 10 hours. That's $1,000 of work that I did just to make sure that I got your parameters right, this article we're writing. And they see that $1,000, and then you can either choose to discount it or not. But if you choose to offer it at no charge, at least they see the $1,000 of value. And I think that makes you look more like an agency if you want to use that.
Yeah, that terminology.
You're offering more service than they originally thought. They thought you were just going to write an article, right? Some pretty words. Well, so now you're a researcher, an analyst, and you're analytical, and you're quantifying and measuring. So that puts you, in my mind, as the client, in a whole different league from just a writer. So now you're more valuable to me. And next time I may ask you, now you remember that research you did last time? I want to see that before we start writing the article. Because maybe you did it and you kept it to yourself. Maybe you didn't even show it to the client. I think you can productize that and monetize it. If you choose.
Monetize the stuff I find in the research?
Yes. And charge for that time. why you're not charging for it. I don't know. Maybe if you put on it.
It's not explicit. When people hire me to write, they think I'm expensive. And so it's already factored in, but it's not explicit. And that's what I'm doing. That's my next stage, is making it explicit.
Yeah.
From,
You're not expensive if they were able to see everything that you did.
yeah, it's like they
Yeah.
think it's expensive, but it's like
That's why I mentioned it.
when people are making content for the internet, like the prices are all over the freaking place, you know? It's just like some people literally think they only have to pay $75 for like a quality 500 words. I'm like, no. You know? And it's just like, so when they have that mindset and the stuff I deliver exceeds that cost for sure, you know, it gets, but then they see results, and then like, and the people that do take the risk and work with me, like they're like, I have never worked with this level of professionalism before. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to be able to start leading with that and making that the obvious thing. Like to me, I'm just a workhorse. I do good work. That's all I want to do. You know, I don't want my name attached to something that's crap. So yeah, you're right. I need to learn that that's not a normal thing in the marketplace. That like what I do is actually exceptional.
I'm trying to open that up for you, because I think sometimes we don't step out of our own box and reframe our own work process and the deliverables that are really there, but maybe we're not charging for that deliverable because we don't consider it a deliverable. I'm thinking maybe you have more deliverables than you're outlining in your own mind.
Right.
And your price can reflect that you are more than just a copywriter. You're something advanced, fancy, guru. And because you do this and this in addition to what you do.
Yeah, I mean, all my profile says ghostwriter, brand, content strategist, and something else.
Well,
Like, I don't remember what
All of the above, whatever. Yeah.
You know, what's nice about LinkedIn is that you see what people are searching for, and people are mostly searching for brand and content strategy when they find me. So,
Okay.
all I want to do is the writing, but like I said, I got to do the other stuff.
Well, so maybe this piece you're doing in advance, this pre-work, maybe it's research, but maybe it's content strategy. And that's a big word. I think that.
It could be a product on its own that she's alluding to.
I think that's a pre-chunk before you even start writing, and that's another 500 or another 1,500 or 5,000 or whatever the number is. And I think that gets you the kind of client I think you deserve. The bigger profile client.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm sorry, what?
No, my pleasure. My pleasure.
My trip to Croatia?
But yeah, just reach out to me. We stay connected. So yeah.
I just downloaded the.
Oh wow. There you go.
After I took notes on all of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Again, good meeting you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Definitely.
it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hey, it's nice to see you guys.
Take care. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
I love your shirt, by the way. Really nice.
Are you all thinking anything else? I know we've been here for some time, but don't know if there's any other questions or.
No, I'm on to managing an email right now.
Okay.
Thank you. You're awesome.
All right. I'll follow up. Seriously. I'll find out.
You'll find out what if I did it.
I'll find out what you're calling yourself nowadays and different things like that. If you're repositioning yourself,
It's super annoying.
I'll search Google. I'll say I don't see any videos. I only see videos from this other teacher. What's going on here?
Oh, I already have a couple of videos.
Good.
They're not under my business name. I just
Okay.
threw them up on YouTube because I needed to embed them in other places. So that's another thing I'm going to do is migrate my videos over to my business and start building my business channel. So you've inspired that for sure. I've been wanting to do video mostly because I'm a woman and I'm like older and like I don't think people aren't really mean anymore, and a lot of like less than traditionally considered attractive people are now doing video, but it's a really hard, it's a hard thing for like everyone, it's like, but it's where people are at now, you have to do it. In my opinion, you have to do video now.
Yeah, understandable. It's perfect. Okay. I'll look because I do follow. I'm not just saying that.
Well, I'm gonna go to your website, and so
Yeah, and the slides are there too. So either way, yeah, however it works. And like I said, it'll take some time, but whenever we get the video done, I will. I'll resend it out to whoever's email I have, and just make sure so you can watch it later. Yeah,
Nice.
for sure.
Yeah. That was really good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. My pleasure. Any other questions? I love answering a question.
I don't know if you're going to get together with, what's his name? The guy in California?
Oh, Chris Dope. When I go to, I will go to Blind. I try to connect with the founder, but he's actually going to the Philippines when I'm there. So he won't be there specifically, but some other employees, I can meet up with them. And they're the one.
Exciting.
It's funny because they even told me, they were like, yeah, he's very busy, CEO, founder. He's like, yeah, he's very busy now. So sometimes he doesn't even know what we're working on.
Is it Filipino?
So, no. He's actually, where is he from? I think he's from Vietnam originally. But he's been in like the States forever. So, no, but when I do go there, yeah, I will connect with some of them. The people,
From Houston?
yeah, from Houston, correct.
Bring him some food.
Yeah? Yeah?
I'm from New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, you know about food then.
Those guys in California, they have this Texas mystique,
Yeah, they do.
Bring them some ribs or something.
And someone was you all tell me this if it's true or not. They're saying Austin is becoming California. Is that true?
Oh, California's here.
Okay.
They've wrecked it.
They're all here. They're trying to take over.
I don't know. If you just drive around and look, you'll see them.
Okay.
They have
Yeah.
red flags that blinking lights on.
I don't know if you see my blinking red flag, but I am from the Bay Area.
Really? Okay.
You and I had simpatico. I'm talking about the other ones. You and I talked about the thing.
I'm not one of those people.
Bay Area. You're safe. You're Bay Area. You're Bay Area.
I'm talking about those other ones, like the guy staying at your house, that guy. And all the
Yeah,
other
so-
ones that came and they cashed in their multi-million-dollar houses.
Wow.
They're using the money to buy these little pocket lots and building quadplexes on them. Where
Yeah.
there used to be a tiny little house, and now there's 4 condos that are really 8 because they're 2 on top of each other. So now there's 8 houses on a little bitty lot.
I have noticed that.
And they buy several lots in a row in a 2-street, 3-street area. And you go in, you see what old Austin was like, and then all of this. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it is. I have seen people do that to where they live in New York and or California, they sell, and then they come here because it's more money here, and then they just buy multiple houses, 2 houses, whatever, however many houses. I mean, it's smart, but to your point, it's like you're kind of
Median house
yeah.
price when I moved here in '84 was about $300,000, $350,000 maybe.
What is it now?
Well, I don't know. These California people have been coming in. They sell their big houses, or New York, or Chicago, wherever. I mean,
They're not selling big houses. My friends have a 2-bedroom close to the beach that's worth over $1 million. The houses aren't big, they just
They're
look
selling their
fancy.
tiny.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And they're buying huge houses.
I think a house I used to rent for like $1,000 something in New York was like $12 million. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's
The same size house. I was like,
yeah.
12
Like-
million.
like because it was a 2-story, 3,000 square foot home. I used to rent. What was it, $1,600 a month, but I saw a very similar place in New York. It was like $12 million. I was like, wow, you know.
So now you can't buy a $300,000 home anymore. They're all, $500,000, $700,000.
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
house.
it went up.
And then the mansions are now $5 million homes. You had to really look hard to find a $1 million home here 10 years ago. Now the big homes are all over $5 million.
Wow, $5 million.
I mean, it's mind-boggling.
It is.
And then the skyscape, I mean, if you look at the skyline, oh my God, it's like I come downtown and I don't even recognize that I live here anymore. It's like I have to think about where am I? The other part is I'll go down the street and I'll look, how you're in a zone when you're driving around, you're kind of thinking.
Yeah.
I'll be in a zone and I'll be going down the street and it's the right street. The street name's